Hi, I'm Clyve. I'm a small town lawyer in the big city. And some of you might be wondering how exactly I came to know ArchieLuxury. It's kind of a long sordid tale with a lot of twists and turns. It started when I was trying to research a gold Rolex, and I came across a third down on a Google search, a video from Paul Pluta or ArchieLuxury on the watch I was searching for. I watched it. It was entertaining. It was slightly informative. And it was partially insane. I was then able to make a few phone calls, pay a fair amount of coin, and actually ask his advice. And I ended up getting a lot more than that. No homo. Seriously, no homo. ArchieLuxury has been a ride. Well, no, also no homo. But you know what I mean. It's been an experience. So you might be wondering how ArchieLuxury came to be, how the ArchieLuxury experience started. That's the purpose of this film.
ArchieLuxury was born in 1972. 1972, a very special year for Australia because it was the start of the It's Time campaign, and after such a long period of Conservative government, the Labor Party was about to come in. ArchieLuxury entered this world under a Conservative government, but things were changing. It was time for change. And this is ArchieLuxury's childhood home in Indooroopilly. That's right. This is the home that Archie, as a child, came home to from the hospital. That's right. Archie's childhood home. In a couple of years' time, this home was going to be flooded completely, and Archie's parents decided to move out. But the childhood home still bears many memories for 1-year-old ArchieLuxury. Archie's education really took off when he moved into the suburb of Jamboree Heights. This is where Archie's education was going to boom. State education, that is. His parents couldn't afford private school. In 1976, ArchieLuxury, the young Archibald Chesterfield III, went to preschool. 1976. And this was his first introduction to state education. This was his very first preschool. His preschool education. 1976, ArchieLuxury. This is his preschool. And in 1976, Archibald Chesterfield III learned a few things about luxury. This is the luxury sand pit. And whilst Archibald was playing in the luxury sand pit, Archibald discovered a few truths about luxury. That's right, luxury. One of the other kids had peanuts. Archibald Chesterfield III had cashew nuts. Cashew nuts. Archie learnt there was a very big pricing difference between peanuts and cashew nuts. The peanut is the working class nut, whereas the cashew nut is the luxury nut of choice. The luxury nut of choice. 1976. ArchieLuxury's school days. And ArchieLuxury came to Jamboree Heights State School. And the classroom right in front of us was ArchieLuxury's grade 1 block. This was grade 1 ArchieLuxury style. And although it seems to be a bit of a botanical gardens now, it was quite barren and a little bit dusty. But this was Archibald's grade 1 class. And he learned here not to trust other students. And he started his primary school education in this block here. This is Archibald Chesterfield the First. This is his year 1 block, C block, C block. And this is the classroom itself, the very classroom that Archibald enjoyed. He enjoyed this block. This was 1977, the year that Elvis Presley died. This is his year 1 block. And this is the school that ArchieLuxury, this is the school that ArchieLuxury went to. Here we are, the school. ArchieLuxury's year 7 block. This was ArchieLuxury's year 6 and 7 block. This is where Archie learnt to, what did he learn? He continued that distrust of people. Year 6 and 7 at Jamboree Heights State School. And this is the very area at ArchieLuxury's primary school where Archie slipped over and scratched his first semi-decent Swiss watch. A Technos. He scratched it on the concrete as he was running around the school. He scratched his Technos and thus ended ArchieLuxury's love of the shitter. Yes, I'm at my old school. This is my first high school, Oxley State High. And this is where I started. I came here in 1985. No, I came here 85 and 86. There you go. There's an old sign there. This is the old abandoned high school. This is where I started my secondary education. And I gotta be honest with you, it's kind of sad to come back now in later life, but have a look here. I'll show you my my first classroom. The first classroom was way at the end there, second from the end. The one on the very end, that was actually an add-on, but it was actually that classroom there. That was my form class, year 8. I think I was 8A. That was my my form class, 8A. And I had a good time at Oxley State High. That's where I had my taste for Asian women. Started here. This is the school, Oxley State High. Da 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 Oxley State High. Da. I can't remember the words, but that's exactly where it is. Oxley State High. And I tell you what, for the ArchieLuxury movie, it would be wrong. It would be wrong not to have Oxley State High featured in the movie. It would be wrong not to have Oxley State High. And that's the admin block. all gone derelict now. And over there was the manual arts. The manual arts, that was the graphic arts. That's right, graphic arts and manual arts. That was the block there. And Archie he only did manual arts in year 8 because he knew, Archie was very wise, he knew all the furniture would be coming from China. So Archie did typing, that's right, because Archie saw that computers were going to take over the world. Very, 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 very futuristic, our Archibald Chesterfield. And Archie knew he had to cook. So he did home ec. Home ec over in this block here. That was home ec. Right at the end was Archie's home economics block. He knew that he needed to feed a monster. He needed to be able to feed a monster. So he learnt home ec, and he also did the typing. He did typing, which was right underneath the admin block. That's right. This is where Archie used to learn to type. These were manual. Right down the bottom there, they were manual typewriters. Archie knew the Chinese were going to bring in imports. No point learning woodwork or metalwork. Manufacturing industries in the Western world were going to be on the shitter. That's right. So Archie knew the best thing he could do was learn typing for these new computers and the home ec with all the sexy girls. Oxley State High. Flying to Bangkok for the first time in 2002, I remember saying to God that if he could get me a girlfriend like one of these stewardesses on the airplane, I'd do anything. It was so magical. These Asian women were fantastic. But these Asian women weren't exactly what I had built up a picture in my mind. Sure, they were graceful. Sure, they were delicate. Sure, they were charming. But landing and going into the streets of Nana, the first trip into Bangkok of my life was, to say, a bit of an eye-opener. It was an absolutely amazing experience, like nothing I'd ever seen before. Archie lived in Nana for 2 years, from 2002 to 2004. He found a lot of delightful creatures, but one thing about Nana is you can't find love in a Bangkok bar. That's right. You can take the girl out of the bar, but you can't take the bar out of the girl, big boy. For 2 years, Archibald Chesterfield III settled into life in Bangkok. He had a wonderful time. He lived in a place called Nana. It was a little place off Sukhumvit Road, and sure, it was a little bit sleazy, but the girls all seemed to like him. And as long as Archie had a little bit of coin, Archie was working in Bangkok. Well, sort of working. Just don't tell the Thais. Archie was able to sustain himself and keep things happening. Archie had a great time. He could go to the club, and the girls who were dancing there, well, they sort of seemed to take on different attributes compared to the girls in Archie's neighborhood. So it was hedonistic, it was fun, it was amazing. It was everything that Archie could want in a place. The wonderful thing about this place called Bangkok, even the girls who worked in pharmacies and general stores were delightful, beautiful, slim Asian creatures. Helpful, delightful, subservient Asian creatures. Archie couldn't get enough of Asia. Archie had a great time. Asia was everything he wanted to. The women loved him. Well, at least they pandered to his needs. And Archie had a fantastic time in the land of smiles. The land of smiles. Eventually, Archie started to understand the tricks that would happen. It wasn't long before Archie decided to settle down a bit and find his own piece of Thai comfort. He found a nice lady. Yes, he found her in Nana. And Archie settled down. And he continued to enjoy the delights of the club, much to the new lady's disappointment and frustration. But Archie was having the time of his life. He was working in Thailand, photographing wristwatches and marketing them for sale in America on forums and eBay and other places like that there. And Archie then at night time would have a few quiet drinks with some delightful creatures and settle in for a bit of an early night and a bit of a cuddle. It all sounded fantastic. It all really was great there, but it's like so many things like this here. Archie would eventually stuff it up. Yes, Archie would eventually stuff it up. He eventually, that lucrative high-paid job which allowed him to support his family back home and his new family in Thailand eventually ended, and Archie needed to find a way to support himself. Unfortunately, with being the victim of white privilege, Archie was sort of disadvantaged. He didn't really have a lot of working capital to kickstart a business or do something creative. And Thailand ain't no place to be if you it ain't no place to be to coast. This is a place for hard work and play hard, party hard. But yes, eventually the fun of Bangers came to a crashing halt there. It can be a brutal place. Thailand can be a great place to holiday, but Bangers can be an awful place to scratch out a living. Can be very, very hard. Hard indeed, Archibald. Hard yards indeed.
You know jewelry store or good tailor? You know good tailor?
Yeah.
You know where good jewelry store or good tailor?
And eventually it was time for ArchieLuxury to find another way of supporting the hedonistic lifestyle. It was game over, Archie. Bangkok was game over. Time to head back and face the music, big boy. In 2004, things weren't going so well. Archie's job that he'd maintained in Bangkok had ended with Archie storming off and Archie working for himself. Archie's ex-wife, that's right, the wife that he had in Australia, had worked out that Archie had a new Asian lady friend. Her quests for money and support were insatiable. Archie had promised her a trip back to her home country, and she now wanted that fulfilled. Archie had used his credit cards to fund this new business of his. He never really had enough seed capital to do it right. So with payments due very soon on the Amex card, it was inevitable before Archie suffered a a stroke of bad luck. Archie had two expensive Rolexes stolen while sent by FedEx. Archie had a number of issues with the Thai Postal Service, with items just going missing. Archie also had to keep the house payments at home going. He had two families to support, one in Thailand and one in Australia. With limited income, it was inevitable before the crash wasn't pleasant. Things weren't looking good. Before you knew it, within a couple of months, Archie had churned up a lot of credit on his credit card to fund living costs, and now the balance was due. Archie came back to Australia in 2004. He moved into his dad's rental home, rent-free. His wife didn't want him back. No, she wouldn't want him back after he'd had multiple Asian ladies in between. There was no way that could be fixed. She wanted the divorce. No problems. Archie came back. He hated IT. He'd struggled for so long to try and find an IT job last time when he was in Australia doing IT work. He just wanted to do something completely different. Archie became a taxi driver for black and white cabs. And this was a huge loss for our very proud Archie. To be a proud, self-employed, successful businessman who had a beautiful European car, to suddenly have absolutely nothing, to suddenly be driving taxis, to be the absolute bottom rung in society, to be down and out, to be working long hours for very little coin. It was a hard reality to face, but this was the truth. This was the truth. Archie, what little money he got out of the divorce settlement went on paying off the credit cards. Archie was living rent-free. Archie didn't even have a car. He rented a yellow cab for $70 a week with 990,000 kilometers on the clock. It was what you would term a shitter. Whenever you parked it next to people didn't park near you because they didn't want their car next to your sort of car. It was the complete opposite to what Archie was used to. Times were tough. People said hello. He hid and pretended he didn't know them. The shame, the indignity, the shame of the whole matter. It was a very hard time. The only thing that kept Archie going was he was working such long hours. Taxi driving either starts at 4 a.m. or it ends at 4 p.m. Starts at 4 a.m. or starts at 4 p.m. It's a 12-hour shift, sunshine. 12-hour shift in the taxi. And when Archie came home, besides having a very quick meal, the only thing Archie wanted to do was sleep. And in some ways there was probably the best thing, because he couldn't contemplate his fall in society, the status loss. He couldn't contemplate the losses that he'd incurred, the disaster that was his ex-marriage, the disaster that was his life. It was a very, very hard way to exist. Very hard, very uncomfortable way to exist. The depression. Could life get any worse? Driving taxis, living in his old man's house, not even being able to pay rent, just struggling to reduce debt, get back on his feet. Archie dreamed of going back to zero. Zero was a magical place where he wished to be. It was a very, very hard life indeed there. White privilege, being lower middle class, overweight, white guy. There ain't no white privilege, sunshine. It ain't the 1950s. This was the early 2000s, 2004 to be exact. And Archie was driving taxis, and he was hugely depressed. The depression, the indignity of it all, the indignity. It was hard. He was over 30. He had no girlfriend. He had no money. No car. Nothing. There was nothing Archie got enjoyment or sustenance out of. It was like the depressionary times. No money. No honey. No nothing. ArchieLuxury's life was at an all-time low. He had success from his business. He couldn't start up another computer business. That market was crap. That was terrible. He couldn't get a job in IT. That was next to impossible to achieve. He'd already gone through there applying for jobs. Oh, my God. He just wanted to jump in a car and drive a taxi. Archie was reduced from being a successful small business person to being a taxi driver. The disgrace, the embarrassment, the indignity. No European prestige sports sedan for Archie boy. No. We got a $70 a week shitter. $70 a week shitter. A yellow cab without the decals removed. Someone got a can of fiddly bits and spray painted where it said yellow cab in black. This was an embarrassing car. This is the sort of relative your black sheep uncle would drive and you cringe as it goes down the street. Archie had hit the lowest point in his life. Everything was grim. Everything was hopeless. Everything was a disaster. Archie's mental capacity was terrible. Absolute terrible. Archie just couldn't handle simple problems or anything. He just was in this stupor of depression, stupor of hopelessness, stupor of sadness. This was the ArchieLuxury. This was Archie at his worst. The depression, the indignity of it all.